Hi, friend. Today I have a super special episode for you, and I'm really excited to share with you a conversation that I had with my accountability partner, Brenda. I can't wait for you to meet her and listen in as we talk about our accountability partnership, our plans, and everything that we've been up to, and just get to know her a little bit because she is a wonderful person. So, without further ado, here we go. Let's introduce ourselves.
So my name is Brenda. I am a life coach for business owners, and I have been in business for about 2.5 years. And I love helping my clients with mindset and also strategy so that they can create the business and the life that they love.
That's awesome. My name is Stephanie, and I am actually a wedding photographer who, through the process of building and growing my business, I've learned a ton about how to overcome barriers and mental blocks and believing in yourself and all of that stuff. And so I wanted to help other people be able to get past some of these hurdles that they might face too, like what I went through. And so I decided to venture out and start a YouTube channel and wanted to create an online course, which is how I met Brenda, the lovely Brenda. And we met through the Amy Porterfield Digital Course Academy, which is a great program. And we have been, how long have we been chatting for?
It's been over a year. I can't remember if it's like 1.5 years, but it's been about a year and a half.
About a year and a half. Yeah. We became accountability partners and had been meeting for several months before. And then we realized that we both share the same birthday.
When I think it was last year when we were talking about, one of us might have mentioned it.
Yeah.
That the birthday was coming, and then we realized it was the same day. So that was really fun.
That was really fun.
Yeah. Well, and I just feel like I remember, so when we started doing the Amy Porterfield, what was like the community, I guess, because they had a Facebook group and they had a community that we were supposed to be finding an accountability partner, right? So they put us in this group of people. Everything was over Zoom. And I remember, I don't know if it was 4 people in that Zoom room that we were together.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It was like a little breakout group.
Yeah, it was a breakout room. And so when that was happening and we were supposed to introduce each other, I just really felt like, oh, I really like her. I want to get to know her. So it was on my side, I think it was a very quick decision of oh yeah, that person should be my accountability partner. And I think we were supposed to pick more than one person, but I did feel that with anybody else.
Yeah. Same here. I just felt immediate connection with you and we were kind of on the same wavelength. And so it really just worked out. I think that I was talking with a couple other people who were like maybes, and I can't remember if we were considering having other people join us, but then those just didn't work out. And then through the process of getting to know you and everything, it just really solidified that was the right move. And it's been awesome. So
it has. I do appreciate, we do have a lot in common, I think, too. Like our lives are kind of parallel a lot of times.
Yeah.
And it's like a funny thing. I don't know if you remember this, but we have had to change meetings too because, well, I'm busy that day. Because usually we meet on Thursdays, right? And so oh, can we switch the day? And then, it's because we both have a hair appointment at the same time.
Right. It's or both of us have sick children, or we both got the flu at the exact same time.
Yeah, so that's really cool. And one thing that we didn't say is I'm in Seattle. So I am in the Pacific Northwest and you're in Chicago area.
Yeah.
So different time zones, different cities, and
yeah, it's very
so fun. It's been so fun to still feel like the connection.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm really grateful for you, Brenda, and for your friendship and the support and everything. It's been awesome.
Thank you. I feel the same way.
Aw, so much love.
All right, so let's talk about what we're doing now because we have a couple projects. One of the projects so DCA is one thing that we're working on at the end of the year. Sometime we'll announce more about that. But one of the things that we did accomplish recently, like you said in your introduction, is that you have a YouTube channel. And on my side, I started my podcast. And that was something that I feel like we both wanted to do something, but we
Mhm.
weren't sure how to do it. And so the fact that once again, it was like a parallel project, like we both want to have something to show and to
Right.
attract more of our, um,
Platform.
yeah. And so we did that in November. We both we both set up our own thing. So like you did your YouTube channel and I did my podcast. And it was so helpful to have you be an accountability partner with that. And it even today, right? Like every Thursday I come and see you and I'm like, okay, I have to do it because
Right.
he's Stephanie. So yeah. So that was fun.
I know it was so helpful because I've kind of always struggled with self-doubt and, just doing the thing and putting myself out there. And so to have you alongside doing that together and me not just trying to do it by myself or also just like feeling silly doing something like that, but having you also doing the same type of thing where you're putting yourself out there too. And it feels like you're not alone. And it just it made me actually do it because I might not have actually done it.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. And with all the projects that we kind of have done as we've known each other, I feel like if I didn't have you as a accountability partner, because I have had other accountability partners, right?
Yeah,
And
me too.
sometimes they don't work out and
Yeah.
something I don't know. I'm just gonna say there's something special because I do want to make sure that I do it. Because here's the thing, I know you're putting in the work, right?
Yeah.
Know that you are gonna do it and that you're not just going to leave me hanging. So that also inspires me to continue as well.
Yeah. Likewise. Yeah. Well, that's what really accountability is for. And so, like, yeah, I think it's really important. Like, if you are searching for an accountability partner or a group, like that you're all on the same page and you have similar goals, you're working on something similar, but, unique. It doesn't have to be the exact same thing or topic or anything, but you need to have the same level of motivation and readiness to do it, I think. Otherwise, it kind of fizzles out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And I know that with DCA, the project has been a little bit bigger than we anticipated.
yeah.
And life happens, like we're learning a new skill, things are happening. And um, sometimes it's not necessarily, it doesn't follow the timeline that we are considering at the beginning. Because, a year and a half is enough time to have produced something. But what I think that happened here is like we are serious about it and we want to make sure that it's not just something that we put together in like a few weeks. And so working a little bit and making sure that we have like the podcast first so that we can get people to get to know us, or for you the YouTube channel. It's a bigger project. And so I feel like there's been several times, I'm going to be honest, where I'm like, but do I really want to do that?
Mhm.
And just coming back to, again, our meetings on Thursdays where I go, sometimes I feel like I don't want to do it. And then I talk to you and I get inspired again. I feel like, yeah, I need to, this is a dream. So not only are we keeping each other accountable, but we're reminding each other why we're doing the thing when it gets hard. And that's really also very important and powerful.
Yeah, yeah, having that person to help you reflect again on why you're even doing this because it is a lot of work that we're putting in with when you're starting out something like this, there's zero payback. You're literally just like doing all this work with zero income from it. You're not getting anything really out of it yet. So there has to be like a really level of passion involved and a bigger why behind it in order to actually keep doing it. So when we show up and, some of those doubts start happening or life just gets in the way and we're starting to question, is this really the right thing? Then we can kind of reflect to each other like, okay, well, why do you want to do? And, we've had those conversations like, why do you want this? Is this like, do you want this? Because you don't have to want this. And it's okay if you don't. So there's like no pressure on actually continuing, but it's more of helping each other see what's inside of
Mm-hmm.
us and
Mm-hmm.
allow that to come out.
Yeah. And I think that it also helps that we are both so interested in helping other people, right? Like to kind
Yeah.
of bring them along. Like you said, there's things that you are going through as a photographer, that you're learning how to run a business or talk to people or sell your craft, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
For people that are starting, for my ideal clients, people that are new to entrepreneurship, and all of a sudden they're faced with a challenge and they feel like, I'm not meant to do this, or I'm not, like that's not something that it's not for me. And the fact that we both know, well, that's going to take a little bit of time and it's going to require a certain mindset shift.
Mm-hmm.
And we do that for each other, as well as we show that in our product that we're creating.
Right. Yeah. We're kind of like each other's guinea pigs a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Or muse or something, however you want to put it.
Yeah, well, because sometimes I think we have had times where something comes up, like an idea comes up, and then for me, what can happen is like I have too many ideas, right? And then I get overwhelmed with, what do I start first? And I think that having you as an accountability partner helps me go back to, well, why are you doing it? So so sometimes I know that I have to clear out some of the things that I have.
Yeah.
Not all the ideas are going to work, and that's okay. And so I feel like it also brings me back to, well, that might not work for what you're doing right now. So that's okay, right? Like you want to have somebody that helps you with your dreams, but also reminds you, well, that's going to maybe take you away from the path that you're trying to get. So bringing you back to the actual theme or the actual work that you're doing, instead of getting all
Getting
out. Like,
sidetracked by different things.
yeah.
Staying focused on the primary goal. And also, I think one thing that I appreciate about you is that like we have an intention. We met through a course to learn how to teach an online course, but you and I both share an intention of it not just being a way to like make money, like,
Yeah.
easily just make money. But it's not easy, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not just about that.
Not just for the money.
Yeah, it's about providing a service and giving back to the world in the way that we can, and helping others through kind of the same stuff that we've both, had to work through on our own and learned through different avenues and outlets. But keeping that service mentality at the forefront of why we're doing this, I think, is also another reason that we connected so much, because that's really what it's the heart of it for us.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's definitely more about creating something that is worth their time. I think of my ideal client as they're already busy. They're already doing things that that are important, right? They have a family maybe, or they have the business to run. And so if they're going to give me their time with my products, then I want to make sure that it's worth their time and that it's something that's going to serve them. I don't want to be wasting their time.
Right.
And I think that's that you feel the same way. And we've had conversations about that too. So
Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you think has been one of the biggest takeaways that you've got, or lessons that you've learned through this process of like the last year and a half that we've been going through together?
resilience, definitely. Like you have to have resilience for projects like this. For both of the projects, like the podcast and the course. I feel like definitely you need to know your why. You need to know. You need to have passion, like you said. And we're talking about accountability partners, so definitely finding somebody that is on the same page is important. Yeah, just in general, knowing where you're going and having that person next to you that will help you get through it. And and the relationship that we have, it's mutual, right? Like sometimes you are also not maybe as excited to do something, and then I have to send you a little message like, just do it.
Yeah.
So things like that, where it's a mutual friendship and a mutual accountability. I don't feel like I'm pulling you. I don't feel like I'm weighing you down. I feel like it's a very balanced relationship, and that sometimes does take work, right? Like it's not just, I think it's not just me doing something, but like you're in it too. And that's rare to find sometimes.
Yeah, it is. I think that we do both have demonstrated that level of dedication. You know, when you're looking at like somebody like Amy Porterfield and all the success they've had, it's easy to think like, oh, I'm going to do that and it's just going to like come together, and you just have this idea in mind that it's going to be relatively easy. And part of that is just seeing them at that level of success and not having witnessed the whole journey. You know, you're just kind of seeing that end, or
Mhm.
not end, but you know what I mean? And like we're seeing ourselves at the very beginning. And so having that determination to keep going through those beginning phases, we're kind of like holding hands as we're both running. Like, yeah, like you said, we're not carrying the other person. We're not like having to be like, don't you come on, like stay with me, you know, like that we're both doing the work ourselves. But having that friendship to keep each other going. Really awesome.
So tell me about what you're working on right now.
Thanks, Brenda. Okay, so I started a YouTube channel, like you mentioned, back in November, and it's really about it kind of goes more, it kind of goes really in depth with the subconscious and our past programming and our past conditioning and how that influences how we show up to business and the things that really hold us back in life. And when we're setting out to run a business, we're setting our own pricing structure and having to market to clients and doing all of this on our own. And it's through that process that we start to realize where some of our blocks are. So if we're running up against issues with making sales or finding that we're having a lack of confidence in what we're selling or our craft or how we're doing it, wherever it might be, that there's a struggle, there's a reason behind that. And it's usually something involved with the subconscious. And so my channel is really helping people to go into a deep dive of figuring that out for themselves in a way that hopefully makes it a little bit more easy to grasp and relatable rather than having to like go and read through psychological textbooks and stuff to really understand this stuff. And because I want people to understand that they can actually work through this and come out the other side, but that there is stuff that if we just continue to ignore it and we just think that it's, you know, due to our pricing structure or marketing specifically, then we're not really addressing the root of the issue. It's like, you know, if a tree grows and it has a bunch of bad fruit that it's producing, like rotten fruit, there's something wrong with the inside of the tree. And so we can kind of parallel ourselves with that with business. So helping people figure out what is it that's like the disease inside the tree and then heal that. So then we start to produce this beautiful fruit.
Yeah, I love that. And that's one of the things that I love about your channel is that you give very digestible, if that's a word, examples of, things like that, where it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Anybody can relate to what you just talked about. Like, there's
Yeah.
fruit that is bad. Where is it coming from? It's not just something that maybe showed up. So I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. So I love watching your videos and the way that you explain a lot of the work that you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I really hope they're helpful for people. That's my main goal.
Yeah.
Uh, so tell me a little bit about yours, Brenda. I've loved listening to your podcast, but I want to hear from you what it's all about.
Yeah. So my podcast is for business owners. And my goal with the podcast is for my community to get to know me and get to know how I work without necessarily, it's like a way to give back too. So, because I do coaching, one-on-one coaching. And so sometimes that might not be something that everybody is able to pay for. So how can I do something that they still get to know me, they still get some value? And so the podcast was for free. It's free. So that's part of what the intention was. And on the podcast, I talk about the brain, and it's very similar. It's very similar to what you are doing, but I go more into your actual brain. What is your brain doing, and hacking your brain to create the results that you want in your life. So for me, it started. I think when people hear about personal development,
Mhm.
there's so many different ways that you can interpret that, right? So I go more into like the actual brain. How can I give you steps that actually will get you to the goals that you want to achieve? And because mine is for business owners, that doesn't necessarily mean that what I'm teaching won't help with their personal life. It actually applies for both, because once you learn a skill on how to do something, it can apply to so many other things in your life. So, yeah, so I talk about things like, why is your brain trying to sabotage you? Because that's something that I see a lot with my clients. Or why do you feel imposter syndrome? And is that going to go away? Another thing that I focus on is taking your emotions and not using them against you, but like checking in with your body. Like, why am I feeling this? So we get very curious instead of judgmental. We get curious and we start looking at what is my body telling me? Why is my brain doing this, instead of having that negative talk all the time in your mind, right? So we remove the negative thoughts. Well, we don't remove them, because that is just part of life. That's just how our brain works. But we take them and put them aside so that we can get curious and look at, like, where is this coming from? So kind of like you said with the fruit, right? Like, it's not just the fruit is rotten and that's it. Let's follow that thread and see why it's happening. And sometimes it can be as simple as having awareness, right? So it's interesting because I just got coached yesterday by my coach, because I also have a coach. So I got coached by her yesterday, and one of the things that I was facing was like, I'm feeling imposter syndrome, and that is something that we all feel. And again, it's not something that goes away, but you start identifying it. And so I was looking at the thoughts that were coming up for me, and she said, well, you're having this because you're exposing yourself more than you were a year ago or 5 months ago, right? So, because I'm facing it a lot lately, right? Like, when it's true, I'm posting on my podcast weekly, as much as I can. And then I'm also going out and networking, and I'm doing things on stage sometimes. And so I'm facing more of, people looking at me or people coming over to me and start talking. And then all of a sudden the imposter syndrome shows up, and I know what it looks like and I know how it feels for me. And so it took me by surprise that it was happening so often, because that's not usually something that happens to me. And then she reminded me, well, you're out there more. So obviously you're going to feel it more. So, and that's kind of what I do with my clients too. Sometimes we don't see our blind spots.
Right.
So you need that other person to kind of tell you, this is why it's happening. And as we are talking about this, that is something that also I think we do for each other, you and I, as accountability partners. Like, well, of course you feel that way because you're exposing yourself, or because you're working on this, or because you're, changing, or yeah. So yeah, that's kind of what my podcast is about.
Yeah. And I love it because you're communicating so clearly these concepts and helping to really understand what's happening, within the mind. And so that we can actually be aware of that. And yeah, like you said, not work to like get rid of or stop negative thoughts or, negative self-talk, because that it's just part of, what our minds do. But to, allow that awareness of it and not believe those thoughts, basically. But yeah, you have a great way of communicating that and making it really easy to understand and like feel like, okay, yeah, I can actually do this.
Yeah. Yeah. It normalizes it, right? Because
Yeah.
I think the culture that we live in, and even just the world, we're very isolated from people, because it's so much easier to just get online or text somebody. So we're not in front of people as much, and we don't know that they're thinking the same thing that you're thinking, right? Or they're having the same challenges that you're having. You feel like it's just you.
Yeah.
So exposing it and showing it that it happens to all of us, and it's part of who you are, is not going to go away, but there's ways to move through it.
Right.
Yeah, it makes life so much easier.
Yeah, it does. And yeah, because it is like life is, with social media, and we kind of live our lives through social media. Like you said, we're not as in person anymore. And so we do see people like Amy Porterfield just at the top of their game without seeing a lot of the behind the scenes. What I do appreciate about her is that she's shared a lot of that, of like her behind the scenes from her early days and when it was like, you know, just recorded on herself. She didn't have this massive like camera setup and everything that she has now. And she shares, you know, vulnerably shares her experience of imposter syndrome too. And so it's literally everyone. It's literally everyone. There's not a single person on this planet that, you know, if you're human, you have some self-doubt and you've got stuff, you know, that you've gone through that's shaped how you see the world. And so when we can start to really understand that, and it's not even like, so we just need a reminder of this too, because some of this stuff we know. And, you know, we've taken courses over and over about how to improve, but sometimes you just need to hear it in a different way from somebody else or hear from someone else's experience, and hear how they communicate it. And then something will click and then you'll kind of move past that thing. And then you'll, you know, move to the next person's genius little insight will help you. So having multiple people that you're kind of learning this stuff from is really helpful, and just having it on repeat to know, okay, I'm not alone.
Yeah, and even you and I, right? Like we have a similar product that we're putting out in the world. And when I go to your YouTube channel and I listen the way that you're explaining, even though a lot of it is the same, the way that you explain it, then it helps me realize, okay, that is something that could benefit my people too, the way that, you know, that I say it sometimes. I'm more of like the, like, not rational. How do you say that?
Like,
more
like left brain.
Yeah, I mean, I just give more of like, this is, your brain is doing this because of this and this, where you give examples in a beautiful way. That's, like I said earlier, that's what I love about listening to your channel, is that you give the example of the beautiful tree or the bicycle and, you know, things like that. And so I don't communicate like that as much, but I love hearing it that way. And I think sometimes it has helped me bring it to somebody else in a way that they will understand it a little bit better. So I appreciate that about you.
Right. Yeah. And I think we're all like learning from other people and seeing through other people's perspectives, because our brains do work a little bit differently. You know, I'm like, my brain always goes to analogies and metaphors, and that's how I think. Like, that's how I will have metaphors running through my mind all day long. As anytime I get a new little insight, I'm like, oh, that's just like this. And I connect things to different examples and like different stories and stuff. And that's just how my brain works. And then sometimes I really need to not be thinking like, you know, I need like someone like your perspective that's a little more like, I don't know, organized. Mine are kind of like, oh, you know, these little thoughts flying all over the place, and yours feel much more organized and streamlined. And so having that side of it too is really important. There's like this balance that's needed.
One of the stories that I think is really funny, when we were working on, what were you working? You were working on something and you couldn't finish the video. And I just said to you, it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be done. And it, you know, like stuff like that, where, I mean, I want you to work and create that beautiful product. But you're in your way sometimes. So like bringing you back to like, we just have to finish it. Not showing it to anybody yet. And you do the same for me sometimes, where it's like, you know what?
Yeah.
Like, focus on what you're doing right now.
Right. So, yeah. Each other's sort of gentle encouragers. We're just like cheerleader, because we're not just like rah rah, you know, we're like, you can do it, like keep going. It's like a gentle encouragement.
Yeah, that's fun. Well, we have something special to do because it's our birthday this week. What did you pick for your birthday treats?
I got a crumble cookie.
I got myself a carrot cake, and I'm turning 40. Yay! We just wanted to celebrate with you guys.
Yes, we had to share our joint birthday.
We tried to do this last year, and what happened? We both got sick, right?
I don't remember. Yeah, I think we did both get sick. Oh no, that was meant to be. It had to be this year. Well, it's better because it's your 40th, so this is way better.
That's true.
Okay.
Happy birthday, Stephanie! Cheers. Well, thank you for encouraging me to do this.
Thank you.
And putting it together. And I just wanted to say that you are a gift to me.
Aw.
And oh, I'm gonna get emotional. You're a gift to me. And I think that a lot of the things that I have accomplished, I know that I put a lot of work into it, but I do feel like you have been a big part of that too, by encouraging me and by just being you, honestly, just being you and seeing your passion and seeing how hard you want this. It does inspire me to also keep going.
No, thank you, Brenda. You're so sweet. I feel the exact same way. Like our friendship, I mean, we are more than just friends because we are very focused on what we're doing and like on the work while we're during our meetings and stuff. But we've really developed such a friendship through that. And you're just so valuable to me. And I'm so grateful for you and your influence in my life. And you're just always this positive spirit and, you know, encouraging, but also not coddling, like a very partnership type of encouragement. And yeah, I don't think I would have kept going if it hadn't been for you and our meetings, and you're constantly helping me to practice what I preach by not getting in my head too much.
Yeah, same. That's very sweet. Thank you so much.
It's been amazing. So super, super grateful for you. And I'm excited to continue our work together and see where it goes. And, do another update of this down the road.
That would be fun.
So thank you so much for tuning into this episode where I got to introduce you to one of my dearest friends. And I look forward to chatting with you again soon. I'm definitely eating some more of this cookie.